Welcome everybody to the final thoughts of tonight. Obviously from yesterday's game against Wrexham at home, where QPR took a big defeat. Well, I'm gonna say big defeat. It wasn't a big defeat, but a big defeat to Wrexham. In my opinion, how it felt. Let me just sort out the picture because I just didn't do it properly. There we go. Yeah. Well, welcome in everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. We're a bit late today. Obviously, I'm still actually processing what happened yesterday, to be honest. But hopefully you're having a great weekend apart from the result. Let's see who's in the chat. Folks in chat, how you DB, bro? I'll be honest, mate. I'm not doing too good. I'll be honest. I'm not happy with that yesterday. I'm really annoyed still about it so much. I've calmed down a little bit. I think what kind of edged me a little bit more, if anyone catch the end of the stream, was people. We had a couple of trolls in the chat. We did last night. So yeah. Nick's in the chat. Hi DB. Hopefully you're okay, Nick. Hope you're alright. Marty sacked. Yeah, I know. I'll be honest, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, mate. Honestly, with Marty. We'll get into that afterwards, though. We should have brought Ronnie on soon as Mbengue got sent off. I'll be honest, we should have brought Ronnie on even before Mbengue got sent off. We should have, when Mbengue has yellow cards to his name, and Paul Smith, you know, he done the right decision in Paul Smith getting him taken off. But Mbengue should have been taken off a long time ago. When what I would have done personally is basically this: QPR should have taken. Brought Ronnie on for Mbengue, put Jimmy on the right, and put Ronnie in the middle. It's that simple. That's what I would have done when we went 2-1 up. When we go 2-1 up, that's when I would have done it. So yeah. But it's football. It's how it is. I can't mock it. I'm just a bit disappointed. You know, when you look at Twitter, with everyone, what everyone puts and all of that, I'll be honest, I would not blame Mbengue for the loss. You know, cool, yeah, he got the red card, he was a part of it, but at the end of the day, the manager's got to make the decisions when, you know, who to take off and who to bring on. So at the end of the day, in my opinion, there's only really one person to blame, and that's Julian Stefan. So yeah, but yeah. Tell boys in the chat, QPR in relegation battle now. Listen, how can we be in a relegation battle when there's almost... Alright, let me look at the table quickly, right? Because I don't... The championship... This is the championship for the past 4 seasons, okay? It's been close from fucking 20th all the way to the top, right? So, if we look at the points boards, right? We have 40 points. We are 10 points... 10 points away from relegation. And 4 points from playoffs. How is that a relegation battle? Please tell me. How is that relegation battle? It's a close call on anything. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm happy with 10th and above. It's that simple. 10th and above, I'm happy. So yeah, it's no doubt a fact Sheffield Wednesday are relegated. So yeah, going on from there. But I think we should talk about more what happened yesterday. So yeah, let's get into it now. If I can change the scene. So yeah, QPR took a hefty defeat yesterday, a 3-2 loss to Wrexham at home. We was playing some beautiful football, I'm not going to lie. We was playing some great football at the start of that game, I'm not going to lie. You know, I'm not saying prime Barcelona or anything like that, but, you know, we've missed out since, I would say, probably just before Christmas, where, you know, Leicester City, I would say, where we looked really good. But since then we've not really been an attacking team. We've all been a defensive team. You know, we've been holding up a low block, it looks like, at sometimes. Maybe it's something he's working on with the defense, but yesterday was the first time I saw us attack for a while, and it was good to see. It was really good to see at the start because obviously of where it went. But the first thing I will say is this: he did change the formation. Which was a very big surprise to see. He went with a 4-2-3-1, or it was either 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. And the squad that he put out was Joe Walsh in goal, Norrington, Davis, Cook, Dunn, and Mbengue all at the back. Madsen and Morgan in the midfield, Mbengue, Vale and Smith just behind Kone. Now, was I happy with seeing this? Yeah, 100%, because like I've been saying all season, the two up front is not working, for us. We want to see goals from Kone, and the only person who was scoring the goals was Burrell. When you have two strikers up front that are both prolific, and only one scoring, something's wrong there. So what's the point of playing two strikers if only one's scoring? At the end of the day, we was lacking creativity, and that was the main thing. Madsen is a creative player, and Morgan, but the problem is where they can't create if they're just being too impact in the middle with defensive duties. So yeah, but also as well as box to box midfielders and stuff like that. But far as I'm aware, yesterday I was happy to see the formation change. It was really good, and you could see the change straight away when we started on the attack. Our momentum, obviously for Wrexham for the first 4 minutes was there, but then QPR after that kind of hit the ball rolling. We scored in the first 6 minutes of the game with Harvey Vale. It was a great play. It was where we saw Mbengue take a shot, a really cracking shot, and unfortunately it was I think it was clipped by the keeper and hit the bar. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. I have to probably go back to it. But yeah, it was a cracking shot. It was, and then it came out. It was a bit of a bundle, and then someone headed it, and Vale pretty much in the box with a cracking volley and thumped into the back of the net. It was a really good goal, honestly. It's really good to see that he's put Vale in the middle there, because he is a creative player, and I feel like, yeah, he can play left, he can play right, he can play in the middle, but I personally think it was a good decision to put him in the middle yesterday with Mbengue and Smith on the wings. I'm really happy with that, honestly. I'm honestly really happy with it. It's good to see. I know he said at the start of the season he sees Vale as a number 8 or a number 10, and he played as a number 10 yesterday, and he did the job. He really played well. They all tracked back in the first half, the first couple of minutes, all of them did. Kone did as well. Kone looked a lot better on the attack. He didn't score. I'm not saying he was amazing, but he did the job what I haven't seen in a while, which is attack. He had some chances, but obviously at the end of the day, if you can't finish him, you can't finish him, So it's just as simple as that. But all shout outs to Vale and Mbengue for that first creative goal in the first 6 minutes. And then for the part of that, for like 30 minutes, I think it was, we were brilliant. We were brilliant for the first 30 minutes of that game. And then we just dropped down yet again for some reason. When we go on this full attack mode at home or even away, it always lasts for some reason only for 25 to 30 minutes. And then we kind of drop down a little. We kind of calm down. Like, the energy is drained from us. And then Wrexham were obviously getting some shots in and stuff like that. Well, not shots, I would say, but they were more attacking. They were passing the ball a lot more. They were trying to get it into areas that QPR were struggling. But at the end of the day, like I said, defensive duties for us have been brilliant for the past, since West Ham, I would say. Listen, look, I like Mbengue defending anywhere at the back four. But when it comes down to attack, he can't attack on that right, and it's that simple. And when he does defend, he should be on the right when there's a certain player on the right, a very pacey forward. But when there isn't, he should be in the middle, because he does go in recklessly in challenges. And everyone knows this. He showed it at the start of the season. And I think it's brilliant that how he shows himself on the pitch. I think it's brilliant, but when you're on a yellow card, it's not great. Honestly, it's not great. But we'll get into that when we talk about the second half. But yeah, defensively, absolutely brilliant in the first half. We did really well. Cook looked great. Dunn looked great. Davis still, he had a pretty decent game, better than what he usually has. But he's been all right. He's been okay. If I had a decision in signing him right now, I would say no, just because I feel like when Ziad Lakesh comes back, he could probably do a better job than him. I know it's hard to, I know it's kind of a bit of a weird one to say, but I personally like Lakesh. I think he's a good attacking wing back. I do, and he can defend. But realistically, once the second half came out, we needed to attack. We needed to put Wrexham on the alert again, but we didn't do that. We looked really okayish for the first 52 minute to the 52nd minute, but then Wrexham were just pushing us a lot more, and that's where we kind of died down. You know, we kind of died down until I would say we made subs. You know, once we made the subs, you look a lot better. You know, ITZYEBOIDB came on for Kieran Morgan. He did. Collie came on for Paul Smith, and Daniel Mbengue came for Mbengue. But before that, obviously on the 54th minute, Callum Doyle scored, assisted by Nathan Broadhead. Now, what do I think of the goal? Personally, I think it could have been dealt with better. It could have. I was a bit shocked that the way it went in was really like, to me, why the hell hasn't Joe Walsh got to it? I can't really see. The only thing I can see that the problem is the power of the shot, which is how it goes into the back of the net. But that's about it. As far as I'm aware, you know, Joe Walsh has been making some incredible saves. At that distance, maybe it might be a bit of a problem, unless he's, you know, seeing it late from somewhere where he can't see. But as far as I'm aware, I think he should have got to it, personally. You know, the defence should have done a lot better in blocking that as well, in getting involved and doing what they did against West Ham, which was intercepting and getting them in front of the shots and the challenges at the right time. But Callum Doyle made it 1-1, and it was pretty brilliant from there. You know, Paul Smith got yellow carded, he came off. You know, Daniel Mbengue, Collie, Hayden all came on. Kieran Morgan, for me, didn't really have a great game yet again. Like I said, I think Kieran Morgan needs to go out on loan. I think now he's had experience of playing time. I think this season he's been a bit, I don't know, he seems nervous sometimes and the passing is not there. So I personally would say Kieran Morgan should go out on loan, but it's only my opinion on that one. ITZYEBOIDB obviously came on and he looked okay. Collie looked a bit more attacking, Daniel Mbengue as well. And the game changed a lot. We was more attacking and more of a threat. They also made subs in the 75th minute with Rathbone and Dobson coming on. But it was a clinical finish from Steve Cook, which kind of changed the game around with a corner from Madsen, which we was constantly on attack, where Steve Cook got into the good position, no one was marking him, and headed it back into the net to make it 2-1, which was brilliant. Was brilliant to see. But then as soon as that happened, Wrexham were on the attack again, pretty much for the rest of the game, for about 10 minutes and plus. So yeah, you know, at the end of the day, we were favourites in the game. We expected goal difference, total shots, and everything like that. We looked brilliant on the day, but unfortunately, it just took a red card from Amadou Mbengue. Now, this is the problem. I'm not going to blame Mbengue on, obviously, in the sense of the loss, but I will say this: that red card did make a difference in the game and change the game. But what I would say is that Mbengue did own up to the point where, why is he coming into a challenge like that? For example, when he knows he's on a yellow, it's a bit stupid. So yeah. But like I said, Julian Stefan should have made that sub and made that call whether to take him on, keep him on or off, and he should have come off at the same time as when Harvey Vale went off. You know, and I think personally Adamson should have come on, and just to make sure that nothing stupid happens. And then obviously when that stupid thing happens, it changed the game. You know, with 10 men down, and Josh Windass makes it 2-2 the 93rd minute, and I'm thinking, right, okay, cool. Well, looks like we're gonna end it in a draw. QPR had an opportunity, messed that up big time with a mistake. And then Wrexham constant on the attack with a corner, and then after that corner, Rathbone got the ball, well, because we're not clearing it properly. And when I saw him touch that ball, I was like, well, look, he's seeing what I'm seeing in front of the goal. No one's in front of him. He's going to take the shot. Everyone was too late. No one was there to block it. Cracking shot, you know. It's like I said, it's like basketball. You know, final seconds of the game, what are you going to do? You're just going to actually pass it, or you're going to just take the risky shot. And he took the shot. and it changed the game. It won them the game. It was a cracking shot from Rathbone, I'm not going to lie. It hit the back of the net. Am I going to blame Joe Walsh? No, not really, because it's not his fault. You know, Joe Walsh has been brilliant. But like I said, I think a lot of people on here are probably going to think, you know, I'm going to blame Joe Walsh, but I'm not. At the end of the day, like I said, I think I treat players fairly. And, you know, I never used to blame Nardi for certain things. And I don't think Joe Walsh deserves the blame for this as well. You know, the first goal, probably, you know, he didn't really get to it that well. But the other goals, it's like I said, defensive ability. If your defenders are shit, your keeper's not going to be able to do well. It's that simple, you know. You're not going to expect any keeper in the world, unless you're pretty much Neuer or flipping Buffon or whatever, who can pretty much do one-on-ones. I don't know, but yeah. We lost 3-2 to Wrexham. It was a really annoying game at the end. It was like, to lose the game like that is really ridiculous. I don't know what's going to happen to Mbengue and everything like that, but it needs to be improved quickly. We have a big game next against Coventry at home, and yeah, I have no confidence in that, really, because of what they've done to us at their ground. You know, we need players fit, and we haven't really got anyone. I wouldn't be surprised if someone gets injured this week before the game. But I would say right now, what we're gonna do to get some players. You know, listen, don't get me wrong. You know, the change of formation showed us that we don't really need to bring in that much of a quality player in, but I still think we're lacking in certain areas. It's that simple. So yeah. Let's have a look at the comments quickly. What everyone's saying. It was a game management, Foley says, as well. We should have taken the ball to the corner flag. I agree with that. You know, listen, look, wasting time is something in football that happens a lot. But I personally think when it comes down to certain things, clearing the ball is most important in areas that you're going to mess up. Now, I was always taught, when you clear a ball, don't clear it down the middle, clear it down the wing, because it will go out, you know, and, you know, you have an opportunity there to sort it out. So, yeah. Photo says, JS got roasted by West London Sport. Listen, I don't know what to say about West London Sport. At the end of the day, there's only a couple of people in West London Sport that talk absolute good stuff. But rest of them bollocks as fuck. I'm not gonna criticize them, but I know I just did. But you know, at the end of the day, they're journalists, so you know they're gonna do what they want at the end of the day. Nick says, you're right, DB, with JS not doing that sub, but like I said, it was down to not being free up and winning easy with early chances. JS said the same thing, as well as pointing out that mistakes shouldn't happen. Yeah, like I said, mistakes cost us the game, like it had last season, like it has this season as well. We made so many mistakes, we have, you know. I'm not going to blame Mbengue on the loss, but like I said, I'm going to blame Mbengue where he needs to understand going in challenges like that on a yellow card is pretty stupid at the end of the day. And he'll apologise, but listen, look, it's not his fault at the end of the day. The person that makes the decisions is Julian. He's got to make that decision whether you're coming on or off. And he didn't make the decision, and it cost the game. So, yeah, there's that. So, pretty much the only thing we do is move on. And that's simple as that. Foley says, the players realise their mistake as well. I hope they learn from it. You know, when you get a loss like that from when players say it, the thing is, you can see that they, you know, some players just don't care at the end of the day. But there's players that will actually be like, fuck, we fucked this up for the fans, man. Like, kind of thing. You know, the fans, we're at home and we've just been fucked like that. You know, it's mad. It's just mad. Nick says mistakes will happen. My point being is we should have put the game to bed because Wrexham were poor. I agree with that one, 100%. Listen, we could have put that game to bed in the first half. But the thing is, we give up and we relax. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. You know, personally, right now, I would say this. Kone needs to be on the bench. You know, it's no offense to Kone whatsoever. I think Kone's great. But until he finds his form again, I feel like you need to try and put someone up front differently, you know. Like I said, I think Kone is a great striker, but right now his form is not exactly great. And personally, I think either Collie or this new guy, give him a chance again. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy plays against Coventry and scores against Coventry. I really wouldn't be surprised. You know, he's playing against his old club. Ronnie Edwards. Now, I'll talk about it in a minute, but we'll go from there afterwards. Let me finish the comments, but I will say something about Ronnie Edwards, I will. Coventry next, and I'm a little nervous. Foley says, I am too, I'm not gonna lie. Nick says, I thought we played well, but not great. Like I said, I think Wrexham were just poor. Wrexham was poor at some moments, but we were poor when it comes down to after 30 minutes when you just give up. And then second half, I didn't really see anything great, to be honest, yeah. Cook had a good game. Yeah, listen, look, Cook's been brilliant, but like I said, if no one's gonna go into challenges and block challenges, it costs games. So, yeah. But Cook had a good game, Dunn had a good game, and it just happens. It's just our luck at the end of the day. It's just our luck. Nick says, I'm glad with the formation we played, but we have to realise we are missing a lot of players to make a difference. End of story. Yep, I agree with that. Listen, look, we're missing key players in creativity as well. You know, Paul Smith to me is not a creative player. He is a person that can score goals. He is. I just think Poku is more of a creator than Paul Smith. So yeah. Does our new striker come back to haunt Cov? Well, like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, Foley. Kieran Morgan had a shocker. Listen, Foley, Kieran Morgan's had a shocker all season, man. Honestly, I'm not being hateful on him. I think he's a great young talent, but he's not been brilliant this season. You know, he did score, he has scored 2 cracking goals in similar areas of the pitch. And, you know, he's been great in that sense, or off the bench. But when he's playing first team, Coventry-wise, you know, he keeps making these mistakes where he's passing it so far and wide on the ground, and it's getting intercepted. And it's not great. I look for him because he's a good young talent. But when he makes them mistakes, I feel like if you're going to pass the ball along the floor, across the pitch, you're making a huge mistake. You know, go long with it if you're going to do with it. So, yeah. What's up, love? This me disappointed last night. I hope you're doing alright. Best of luck. Well, thank you for tuning in. Much love, much appreciate for you tuning in tonight. But yeah, I think we were all feeling it after yesterday, to be honest. We were all feeling it, especially in the stream. That stream kind of kicked off, you know, I was surprised to see 3,000 views on that. So yeah, but I think the amount of views from it came from the end of it with my reaction. So yeah, I do apologize if anyone saw that reaction from me. I don't mean to be horrible to people, but when people are coming into the chat like that, I'm gonna say something. So yeah. Can't see us beating Cov, Foley says. Vale, in his interview, you could see even though he scored, he was disappointed. Yeah, listen, I hate keep on repeating myself. You know, you guys know how much Vale is important to this team. You know, I keep going on about it each week, you know, and I've said this constantly. Vale is an important player, and he's a great young player. You know, he's what, 22, 23, I think he is. And what he could do on the pitch, the only way to say it is this: you need to go watch his videos or go on YouTube, whatever. Go see how he plays, because this guy can play left back, left mid, right mid, central attacking mid, CDM, left wing, right wing. You know, the only thing he can't play is centre back and striker. You know, he's really talented. Honestly, he's really talented. And he's a hard-working guy. You know, he's a kid that really deserves first team football, and he's got that hopefully at QPR. But yeah, like I said, I'm really proud of the goal he scored yesterday, and you know, like I said, we still got more to see from him. You know, he's going to be a brilliant player. He's going to be a brilliant player for us in the Premier League, and I honestly think we brought him in to replace Ilias Share now. I really do. So yeah, Jake Guitars, hi DB. How are you, Jake Guitars? Hopefully you're okay. Hopefully you're not disappointed that much from yesterday's result. Hopefully you're okay. Hopefully you have a good weekend. But yeah, that's pretty much it on Vale. We got considering we all agree we just need 3 players next season, but we do need to get rid of Deadwood, like Nardi, Field, possibly Morgan if he doesn't get his form back to when he. I would say this: the thing of Kieran Morgan, he's still young, man. He's what, the same age as roughly Alfie Tuck. he needs to go out on loan and get experience. He can't be on the bench at that age, man. Unless you're actually going to give him game time, he needs to go out on loan. I personally think he should go to Wickham. I think he'll do well at Wickham. You know, we have contacts at Wickham. I think he'll do well there. He needs to either be at Wickham or somewhere that has the same kind of philosophy, playing style as us. You know, League One is somewhere where he needs to go, or even shift him to Sheffield Wednesday. Barry Bannon's fucking gone. Go send him out on loan to Sheffield Wednesday. He'll get game time there, surely. You know, see how he does. But I would say personally, Field looks like he probably could be going. I'm not surprised. You know, Madson's literally taken over his job. You know, Madsen is doing the thing that that he was meant to do last season, but never really got the game time. But he's been replacing Field on the pitch, and I hate to say it because I'm a big fan of Field. I think with Field though, you know, what you're going to do? You're going to keep him on the bench to rot, or you're going to sell him for a good price? If we get a good pricing for him, you know, Michi Frey looks like he's going. Hate to see him go because he's a lovable character for QPR. But unfortunately, it looks like even with Seller, it looks like he might go. You know, at the end of the day, they're not Julian players, and that's that simple. You know, Julian never really used Samfield unless it was on pre-season. So yeah, he's brought him on a couple of times, but he's not a key player to Julian, and you can see that. So it's got to be playing style, really. I would personally say, because he's got Madsen, he's not panicking at the moment. He might bring in, if we do sell Field, I would say we definitely need to bring in a midfielder for sure and see where it goes from there. But you also got Harvey Vale who could play in that position as well, which he's probably thinking, okay, cool, maybe not. So yeah, but I think Field, Michi Frey. I also kind of think there might be who is it? Oh my god, I can't think of the player. Nardi. Yeah, I think Nardi might be going as well. He's not. Someone said he's injured. Someone said Nardi's injured, but I'm not too sure. I would like, if anyone's got any information on that, I'd love to know. So yeah. Foley says, didn't see the end of the stream, but I feel you had the right to react the way you did. You're passionate, end of. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. Listen, look, like I said, I'd never lose my cool. Never lose my cool. I rarely do. I rarely lose my cool. But this guy, there was a guy in there who's been in the stream before, I believe. And, you know, I can handle a joke. I can handle that. But if you're gonna fucking go on and on and on, I'm gonna react to it really. When you come at me, when QB are the way they are right now, I'm gonna react to it really badly. You know, I'm gonna be aggressive, and I do apologize. I don't like people seeing that side, and yeah, I apologize on that one. So yeah, but like you said, it's a common reaction. In football, you know, passionate and all that, so it makes sense. But you know, when if you have, say for example, if Harvey Elliott, who is in the chat, is at a certain age, you really don't want to swear in front of these guys. Honestly, you really don't, because yeah, you don't want to teach these people bad habits and stuff like that. So yeah. Nick says, I think Norrington Davis has been good to cover left back, but he can't be signed permanently. I think for me, I think we need to look at a different player. Escudina's injured. I don't know if they've reported on how bad the injury is yet, but we'll find out soon, hopefully. But I think we do need a left back and a right back for sure in this window, for sure. Jigsaw says, one thing I don't get is how we buy Edwards and we don't play him. I know he's only recently got here, but I think he would have helped yesterday. I think everyone knows why Edward hasn't played yet, and it's just simple. Cook and Dunn are in form. It's that simple, you know, and it's weird, and I hate it because Cook hasn't played brilliantly like this all season, and as soon as Ronnie comes in, he wants to perform really well, and he scored a goal now. You can't really sub him now. Well, you can't really put him on the bench when he's scoring goals like that, you know. But I think Ronnie now has an opportunity to play. And Mbengue sent off. What do? Do you put Ronnie on the right? Do you put Jimmy on the right and bring Ronnie in the middle? But I think we'll see Ronnie against Coventry. I really do. I think we'll see Ronnie definitely against Coventry on the field for sure. So yeah. First of all, Ronnie definitely needs to start against Coventry. Yep, 100% agree. I know you like QPR, but I've never been great on him. Trouble is they've kept him when he could have been sold, but now he's lost his value. But that's just because of injuries, I would say. Injuries has kind of killed him, I would say. You got to remember last year, Mark Warburton, he had injuries with Mark Warburton with hamstrings. He had injuries with Gareth Ainsworth. He had injuries with Marty. It's the same injuries as his hamstrings. And I've said this before. I've said this before constantly. I personally think, and I'm not trying to compare the two players, because they're two players that are different level, 100% different level. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Ilias Chair reminds me a little of Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard and Ilias Chair have kind of the same mentality type of thing where it comes to football, where I feel like food is important to them. I'm sorry to say it, but Chair looks like he enjoys food. He looks a bit overweight, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not trying to criticize him, but it's weird how Eden Hazard as well kind of went through the same thing and started getting injured quite a bit as well. So yeah, but listen, look, Chair is a well-respected player in the QPR squad, a well-respected QPR fan base, and he'll always be that player that will always be remembered at QPR, like Tarap, like Stambols, like all them players. But the problem is, do we sell him? I don't think he's worth much anymore. So I'll be honest, I think he's better at QPR, even on the bench. And if he decides to leave, then cool. But right now, when we see him play, we love him when we see him play, because he makes a change. He makes a difference to the squad. I like Sato and all that, but there's something about Chair that brings a different type of thing onto the pitch. He's matured so into the squad he has as a young player. So yeah. But I get what you're saying, Nick. I get what you're saying. I think that Harvey's to be honest, I started thinking it, to be honest, as well, Foley. I started thinking it. I'm a bit confused with it, but yeah. But we'll even be, we'll even be. I don't want to upset him. Why the fuck does no interview ask JS about update and injuries? You gotta remember, the only people that are gonna ask him is West London Sport and other people. QPR are not gonna ask him. QPR are not going to ask him because they're all questions that have been like written down. It's all scripted technically, It's like if QPR wants me, you want to do an interview on Ronnie Edwards? They'll probably tell me the questions that I have to ask him, and it's that simple. I don't want to do. It's like, think about it, right? When if you've watched some of the interviews from Hoopsa, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the questions have been written down from the club, So yeah, but it's just how it is in football. It's how interviews are and all that. So yeah, Foley says, and Joe, I'm not a fan of Cher. Listen, look, I get it. I understand it and I respect it. Not everyone's gonna like Cher. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But when you see him on the field, even when he come back from injury against Swansea, you can see the difference straight away it made with the attacking threat. He's that creative player which you don't really need to worry about when he's on the pitch. He's such a creative player. I'm not saying, in my opinion, to wear the number 10 is an honour. Did I think he was ever going to be a number 10? I don't think he ever should have, because it's a big honour to wear that 10 at QPR. For me, he's either a number 7 or something like that. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's not everyone's cup of tea. For me, I can see him, and he does change it. He changed the game quite a bit when he plays. So yeah, I really respect that from him. We can't let the other teams know our full injury list is tactical. Yeah, that's what it's like. For example, where they in the contracts right now, they do long-term contract and all of that. It's because obviously they don't want to allow people to know how long the contract is there left, unless they get told. A lot of people talk to apparently what's his name? For God's sake, the transfer deadline guy, whatever it is, I can't think of his name. I forgot his. How can I forget his name? But yeah, like I was saying, the Coventry game, we need to see Ronnie in that field. We need to see Ronnie in there for sure. That's one thing I would say. Ronnie definitely needs to come in and play against Coventry. You know, something needs to obviously be replaced by Mbengue. Hopefully injury news. Hopefully someone comes back. I don't know exactly when Varane's back, but we do need Burrell back for sure. I really want Burrell back. We're missing goals. If we're getting rid of Frey, then we need another striker, which we've already signed. Hopefully he is the bee's knees, is what everyone has been telling me. You know, he looks like a good finisher in training. So yeah. We'll see what happens with him. Hopefully he plays against Coventry and hopefully he scores and you know, why this is what you're missing, Lampard kind of thing, you know. So yeah, but apart from that, that's it really. QPR took a very big hefty defeat to Wrexham. They lost 3-2. Goals from Vale, Cook for QPR, Doyle, Windass and Rathbone all for Wrexham. Yeah, they came back. And they got revenge against us after what we did to them at their ground. So yeah. Kone had enough chances, let the new striker have a go. Like I said thoroughly, I agree with that one, you know. Like I said, I think Kone needs to be dropped to the bench and we need to try something new. You know, I love Kone. I think Kone is a great striker, but unfortunately he's out of form. Until he gets back on form, it's one of them things. You can only play the informed players. And that's how you win games. What's Mbengue's red card sanction? Jay Guitar says, I'm not too sure, I'll be honest. I'm really not too sure. I think it's 3 games because it's his second yellow ban or something like that. So yeah. Nick says Ronnie in done back to right back. Apart from that, should be the same. Well, yeah, like I said, Harvey Vale, I think Smith does really well on that left, and I've been saying that for quite a bit. I don't know if Sato's coming back yet. I don't know who's actually back in training. But apart from that, I would personally say there's a lot of stuff going on. Hopefully still to bring signings in, but I think the main priority is he's working on development side and women's team. So yeah. Robert says sell Kone. Jesus Christ, your statements are big, you know that. Your statements are big. Oh man, listen, I'm gonna allow you to have that. I allow you to have it, but personally, no. Listen, look, just because someone's out of form, don't worry about selling them. And plus, you can't even sell them anyway, even you just brought in and on a contract. So yeah. Even asked ChatGPT about Poku and Sayer and got a reply saying come back Friday and it could tell me more. Fucking hell. Nick, wow. Man's asking ChatGPT for injury news on QPR. Like I said, the only way you're going to find out is if you go to QPR yourself, the training ground, and actually just go and ask. Or, I would say personally, just type a message to DM someone. You might find out. Julian, obviously ain't on social media, so you ain't going to find out from him. But I'm sure if you DM someone, you can find out. Journalist, maybe. West London Sport, possibly. You know? But that's the only way to really find out. But Kone sell is a big statement, Robert. Big statement. But yeah, personally for me, I like Kone. You know, he's not going to be sold whatsoever. But for me right now, I think right back, left back. We obviously, if Field does leave, we need to replace Field for sure. And that's it really. What we need in the transfer market. Like there is a couple of shouts on what we could get, you know, personally, but right now I would say we need to probably consider the loan market. You know, we might have players there actually still for QPR to bring in on a transfer basis, but it depends on what we can do a wage as well. We'll wait patiently until Saturday, lol. Well, we got Coventry. When we got Coventry, people? Let's have a look when we got Coventry. Not today. When do we have Coventry? Saturday. No, well, I'm going too far on now. 31st. So we have Coventry 3 o'clock kickoff at home next week. We do. Big games. Obviously, Leicester. Let's talk about it, right? I wasn't going to bring it up yet, but I will. Mike Fuentes has been sacked by Leicester. Was it the right decision? Obviously, it's got to be. Leicester are not doing great. They lost yesterday to Oxford at home, which is appalling. There was a fight that broke out. I don't know why. Do I think? Do I think? Do I think Marty deserves it? Listen, look, Marty hasn't really been great in the Championship. I just don't think Championship football is for him. We're talking about the 5th best league in the world. We are. And I personally just think maybe he just can't hack it. With Leicester, he did okay at the start, but I just think he can't hack the Championship. I really don't think he can. He needs to change. It's either two things. He's either not good enough, or he's a manager. He's not a head coach. He needs players that suits his style, and if he doesn't get the players that he wants, it might mess up. Listen, look, there's great players at Leicester, but unfortunately, they're not performing to the ability of what he wants to play. It could be his playing style or what, but personally, Marty's gone. Do I see him back in the Championship? I don't think he will. I personally don't think he'll be back in the Championship for a while. I think he'll go back abroad. He'll probably take a break. But if he does get recruited by anyone, it'll probably be abroad, I reckon. I don't see him going anywhere else. I don't realistically see him in the Championship anymore, and it's that simple. Marty Fuentes is proven that I don't think he could be a Championship manager. So yeah, but good luck to him. Good luck to him. Look, he's a fan favorite at QPR. Fan favorite not at Leicester, because Leicester have probably hated him because of his boring football. But yeah, all the best to him and all of that. What else should we say? Paddy Pimlet was very unlucky last night. I know it's going off topic now, but Paddy Pimlet was... Did anyone watch the UFC last night? Paddy Pimlet was very unlucky. What a fight it was. Honestly, what a fight. Paddy Pimlet, unlucky, man. Honestly, I was cheering him on. Two great fighters, Marty Gaethje and him. Justin Gaethje, sorry. And him. I'm thinking of Marty Fuentes for some reason. But great fight. Unlucky Paddy. Hopefully gets another chance, but great fight. Man United obviously just beat Arsenal. Haha. Carrick doing his bit. So there. But from there we go again against Coventry on the weekend. We do. Lampard coming back to London. So yeah. Nick says right decision in a way. Think it was more on hope than analysts. Still feel for him because he was good for QPR. I got to go. Thanks to Bino and Jay Guitarji. Have a good evening. I hope you enjoy your work tomorrow if you are at work. But have a good evening. Have a good Sunday. But yeah, Nick, I'll personally say he's not good enough for Championship. Personally, he's a lovable character. Him and Xavi, lovable characters. But personally, I just don't think he kicks it off in the Championship anymore. So yeah, still confident in JS getting us to the promised land next season. My hands are still there, man. Listen, look, I've not given up on Julian Stefan. Unless there's something there actually to be given up on. So anyone that actually says on Twitter, hey, fuck off, he's got to go, sack him now and all of that, I think it's out of hand. It's out of bounds, man. You can't be saying that to a manager that is doing well for QPR. And I feel like the difference is this, when you make a statement in signings and you're not in the top 6 or whatever, it's one of the things, but I just feel like some people overdo QPR in the sense of we're that team. We're not. We're generally not. We have great players, but I still think Julian Stefan needs to get used to the league. It's that simple. The Championship is a difficult league, and he's come from a French league. He's doing better than Will Steele has, coming from a French league, and it depends on what your tactics are. The 4-4-2 seems to be not working, but I honestly will always trust Christian Nuri, because he knows what's best for the club, and he did that. Obviously, sacking Martin, no one loved it, but he wants the club to move forward, and something happened, and it went from there. He brought in Julian Stefan. He's done a cracking job. He's shown us attacking football more than Marty. He showed us goals. He's showed us defensive abilities now that we can do, and that's a statement for me. Do I think he will get us to the Premier League? I honestly am confident he will. Not this season, but next season I reckon we'll go up. depending on signings and what we do, I feel like you need to give credibility where it's due. With him, you know, we gave Mark Warburton the opportunity to do it. He almost got there, but he couldn't finish it. He couldn't do it at Brentford either. So bless him there. But Julian Stefan, I think if we give him enough time, enough credit, give him the players that we need to help him suit his style of play and make him understand what is best, we got this. I reckon personally, if we get playoffs, I'll be happy even if we get knocked out of playoffs. If we go up, we go up this season. But at the end of the day, next season, I would like to see us win the league. Burrell top goal scorer. I like to see a creative playing style and attack. And personally, I would like to see a keeper in there that is gonna be our Paddy Kenny or, you know, Lee Camp or, you know, someone like that. So yeah, it's not like Warburton when we had so many loans and needed a rebuild every season. I just personally think that there was something going on at the club when we brought in, I think it was the second season. I find it weird how you have a player in Johan Barbe who's quality, who was shit for us, and took a penalty and hoofed it out of the stadium. How is that possible? We got knocked out of the cup for that. Jeez. I honestly think there was something going on, man. Honestly, you know. We've made some serious bad calls in hiring managers and head coaches, you know. I think Neil, I don't know what the whole Neil Critchley thing was about. That was a stupid thing. Even at the start when I asked people about him, yeah, cool, he's worked with Liverpool youth squad, he's worked with Gerrard, but everyone's telling me the same thing. He's shit, you know. Why are we bringing in this guy in who has no consideration in what we do, you know? So he messed up the club, and obviously others as well. But I think Julian, for me, we've gone the right way, and we stick with him, and we go from there. You know, Christian is doing a great job with us, with the development squad, and working well with every other person in that club, and we go on from there, really. So yeah. But apart from that, that sums up our match reaction for tonight. Nothing much else to say. Apart from let's hope for a good Saturday to come, and hopefully we can defeat Coventry 7-1 in what they did to us. So yeah, enough comments, I'm done. Nick says. Well, we're gonna leave it there for tonight. It's 8 o'clock. I'm sure people are either tired, want to go to bed, or what, as work is tomorrow. But I just want to say thank you everyone for tuning in tonight and yesterday. We've been killing these streams for this year. Honestly, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So all you guys, much appreciated, much love for that. Hopefully you all are gonna have a good evening. Hopefully this year is all about you guys. And we continue obviously on Saturday. But we'll be live obviously Friday, Thursday for our match reaction to Coventry. So yeah, we all know what the game is. We all know what's going to happen. But yeah, much love for you guys. Peace, love, positivity. Hopefully you have a good evening. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to, because it does really help the channel move forward. But yeah, apart from that, peace. Have a good evening and enjoy, well, your work tomorrow, I guess. So yeah, catch you in a bit.